Let's start again. All right. I'm going to start this way. Welcome back to Soul Awakening podcast series. It's wonderful to have you here again today. In the last episode, we talked about energy, frequency, and vibration, how everything in existence is moving energy, or the energy is moving. We have different speeds. We think sometimes thoughts rush through our brain, and then sometimes it's a slow moving thought. Sometimes our emotions are like speeding like a freight train hitting us at our core, and sometimes it's a slow moving emotion because they have their own frequency. So today we're going to build on that idea that by exploring one of the most fascinating discoveries in quantum physics called entanglement, and how it helps us understand everything in the universe is connected. Everything is connected, right? Even though, for whatever reason, I couldn't connect my Instagram to my talk studio so that I could um, do multiple streaming, which I should be able to do, but it wouldn't let me do it. But it's still energy. It's just as I was looking at it or observing it, it was flowing in a different momentum. It wasn't flowing in the momentum that was supposed to, that I was looking at. Oh, this has got to work. It was flowing in a different way. I just wasn't connected to it. Or maybe I just didn't have time enough to connect to it to figure it out, right? So today we're going to start with a simple explanation. Okay, and I'm going to give you it in the quantum physics way. We'll start there with science. And I'm not a sciencey person, remember. This I'm learning I've learned this just like you're learning. So some of the stuff I got to read verbatim as I got it, right? In quantum physics, entanglement happens when two particles become linked in such a way that what happens to one instantly happens to the other, even if they're far apart, across a room, across the planet, or even across the galaxy, right? Albert Einstein called this spooky action at a distance because it didn't seem possible. It didn't seem possible, but they kept doing the tests. They kept running the tests. But experiments that they did, proven again and again that two particles are connected. Two twins separated at birth are feeling what each other is feeling, even if they're in different states. They grew up with different parents, say they were adopted, different parents. They're growing up and they've done tests, and you've even seen movies about it where they have the same, uh, thought patterns or feelings, or desire to play the same, or desire to not play the same instrument, but they have something to do with arts or music, or they both go into science, and they both become physicists, that kind of thing. Okay. So the experiments prove again and again that two particles are connected. They remain connected no matter the space between them. All right. I thought this was, you know, Albert Einstein called it spooky, but I called it sci-fi. I went, "Oh, that that shit is real." That's what I said when it was breaking it down to me, you know. Another fascinating aspect of entanglement is that it doesn't just apply to particles, okay? It doesn't apply to particles created together. Scientists have entangled particles and found out that these particles formed separately, showing that connection isn't just limited to origin, that it can be created through interaction. Doesn't that just blow your mind? I mean, if you're thinking about it, if you're going and you're thinking about it and you're putting it into real life scenarios, doesn't that just blow your mind? Right? So this means that connection is not something we lose over time. You have a connection to someone. You live apart. I have a very close friend that lives in Australia, right? And I can always feel when she's going through a certain thing in her life. I don't know what that certain thing is, but I'll start to trying to call her, right? And she's a person that likes to, she goes inward and she doesn't really share, but I'll call her because I know I'm holding space for her and I feel her. I feel something's going on, right? And then eventually she'll go, "Oh, I haven't talked to Sandra," or and then I'll find out she was going through something because we're connected like that, right? But we're not twins, okay? So so this means that connection isn't something that we lose over time, unless you want to. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Sometimes they have the need to let things go, to surrender things. And once you surrender that, and you're surrendering that the energy of that person, the whole kit and caboodle of that person, that's your free will, and it will let go. Okay. It's not saying that you're stuck with it. All right. Every relationship, every moment of resonance you feel with someone, every instant of intuition may be reflecting as an actual energy alignment that science is only beginning to understand. Only beginning to understand the essential part of being body, mind, and soul. Being aware that your body, mind, and soul, that your energy is constantly vibrating frequency, right? Growing and expanding and constantly feeding you back wholeness that you're part of. You're connected. You're connected to more than you know. You just may not know how to say it or how to define it. Okay. Physicists have even entangled larger systems, not just tiny particles. Okay. So they're out there working, trying to figure it out. And guess what? Once they get it figured out, the universe grows a little more, and then there's something more that they've got to figure out. That's called evolution, right? Okay. Suggesting that entanglement may be woven into the fabric. Hold on just a second. Okay, I've got my chat on now. Entanglement. Yes, Olivia. Yes. Guys, I'm learning quick, fast, and toot sweet, but I don't know how to get the comments into my where you can see them. So we're just gonna kind of go with the flow, all right? So so it's every so I'll say this again. Every relationship, every moment of resonance you feel with someone, every instance of intuition, it may be reflecting an actual energetic alignment that science is only beginning to understand. Okay. But spirituality understands it as wholeness, as intuitiveness. Your I call it the first eye. Everybody, science calls it the third eye, right? So So what I want to say is, now think of what I had to think of what that meant. I had to really take some time to think of what that meant. That everything in the universe was once part of a cosmic explosion. I'm not going to say the Big Bang, but hey, if you want to use that terminology, go right ahead, right? Um, then at some then at a deep level, all energy was connected, and then it started moving in waves, right? So in a real way, the entire universe is still entangled, right? It's still connected. As we talked about this last week, when we observe those particles, they move in a different format. They're not moving as waves, they become form. When our physical eye takes notice of them, when we start to observe them, when we start to put feelings to them, when we start to say, this is good, this is bad, this feels good, this feels bad, that's us observing how a particle or particles move, and what they can become, because we're the observer, right? Quantum entanglement is like science catching up to the ancient truth, right? Many ancient traditions have always hinted to the idea that long before modern physics, all you had to do was observe it. All you had to do was observe the energy. I'll give you examples. I pulled some down. In Hindu philosophy, the concept of Brahman describes an underlying unified field of consciousness. In Buddhism, Indra's net symbols a vast cosmic wave where every jewel reflects every other jewel, a metaphor that mirrors entanglement beautifully. The indigenous teaching around the world speaks of all my relations principle, seeing every being as a part of a living, breathing network. Right? Even if you have an enemy, that enemy is part of your network. It's the divine seeking itself as that person who declares that he or she may be your enemy. But that's wholeness. You're still connected. Maybe not in the way you believe you should be. These traditions have always taught that separation is an illusion. Entanglement gives us a scientific language to revisit these ancient truths with fresh eyes. That's all. Science is no different than spirituality. They're just speaking a different language, and they choose not to use God or creator. But they know that there's something more, but they're not labeling it. Hello, and I'm sorry, I got a cough. Hold on. Hi, Angelique, and not Angelique, Angelic. See, the cough is still there, but all righty. Thank you for joining me. Um, okay, so you can think of it this way: when we're all notes in one universal song. We're all notes in one universal song, and the song is continuously playing, and we're all notes. We're all part of the same universal song or cosmic song, right? When one note changes, it affects the harmony of the whole. Every thought, every action, every emotion we have creates a small ripple in the field of life. We're not saying it's not saying that you have to be responsible for everything. It's just letting you know that the choices that you make, or the act being an active individual in your life, it will, when you're making choices, your choices will ripple out. They're part of a particle wave. It's always, you are always going to affect someone, and someone is always going to affect you. But how this works is, how do you react when that happens? How do they react when that happens? That's what free will is about. We're just talking about the various, the scientific and the spiritual aspects of the same coin. Scientists are seeing it from, form, and then they're moving outward. Spiritualists are hopefully most of them are coming from within, and expanding outward. Right? Scientists are looking from the outside, bringing it in, and spiritualism is taking it from inward, from your divine, your heart space and your crown and your root chakras, all your chakras, and moving it outward. You can live life either way, however you choose to define it, or whatever your labels you choose to have. Right? Okay. The ripples touch others in ways you may never see, but nonetheless, the ripples are part of waves that you'll never see in other people's lives. Have you ever heard somebody say, "Oh, he came in like a gale wind. He was a force of nature," right? And he didn't observe that. He didn't notice that. He was there and then he wasn't. She was there and then she wasn't. Right? It could be as simple as making a statement of "I love you," and moving on. Or even more simpler, giving someone a smile. I've had people smile at me that made me light up, and then all of a sudden they're gone, even before I could give them a thank you. Right? Modern researchers study collective behavior, right? Like they look at birds and see how they synchronize, or schools of fish, or the way human crowds sense each other. Have you ever gone to Disneyland and watch how the crowds of people, I mean, literally, they're on their phone. They're not looking at anything but the phone, but they're walking at such, they're walking in groups and whatnot. And for the most part, the last time I was there, they weren't walking into each other. It looked like they were going to walk into you. It looked like a couple of times people were going to walk into me, or into, my walking cane. But every group they were with, they were synchronized with each other, so they were moving in and out of whatever their collective space was. Right? So these researchers are discovering patterns of coordination that happen too quickly to be examined or explained by simply cause and effect. That's what they believe. It can't be cause and effect. It's as if a field of information links individuals together as they move. Telepathy. They're talking about telepathy. Okay. So when you think of humanity in that way, it becomes clear that your inner state does matter. It does matter. You can when your outer world is what you might be calling chaotic, it's okay to say, well, let me go inside, see what's going on there. Maybe I can fix it from or redirect it or expand it or surrender it or transform it or alchemize it, whatever. But I have to go on the inside because it's a reflection, right? If maybe you have to, if you're always seeing something chaotic, and I've been seeing that this week, kind of off on chaos, because I'm working with the back end of all my my trying to do the tech myself and having these kind of chaotic moments, right? And I have to go inward and find my calm. I have to go inward and find my presence. Where am I? I even have to ask myself, why am I doing this? Right? What's my compassion? Do I have, even when it's talking to people and they say something so annoying to you, right? And the first thing is you want to go straight into your ego. Yeah, I've been wanting to go straight into my Gemini ego, and give some people what fors and why nots, that kind of thing. But if I take that moment to go within, I get to ask myself with compassion for myself and for this other person. So what am I supposed to be learning from this? Or is this person supposed to be learning something from me? Right? Let's see. Face red, smiling live. Face red, smiling live. Face red, smiling live. Okay. So so I found this statement. I'm going to read it verbatim. Okay. They contribute to the invisible field that shapes how groups, communities, and even society respond. This telepathy, they haven't called it this telepathy, but we're intercommunicating with each other, and we're not twins. We're tapped in to our intuitive centers, our third eye. I call it the first eye. And it's almost like you say to somebody, well, wow, that's deja vu because we've had that conversation already. And the person goes, really? I kind of feel like that too, right? So just imagine if millions of people tuning in to peace for even a moment. Imagine what that ripple would be. I think it would be extraordinary, right? Give that give that a moment. Let's pause with that for a moment. Ask yourself, if everything is connected, how do my thoughts, how do my actions, how do my emotions influence the world around me, right? How do they influence others, right? When I choose kindness, when I choose understanding, when I choose love, when I choose to allow that energy to travel, can it travel farther than I realize? Science tells us that energy doesn't disappear, but spirituality tells us the same thing, that it's unconditionally, right? It's unconditional. And number 2, it's it's infinite. It's not finite, right? Hmm. I love this. When you send out a positive energy, and a lot of us like to talk about the positive, but we came into this vibration, this third density vibration, so that we could experience both the negative polarity and the positive polarity, so that we could find balance in our journey and stories. And if you're hearing a beeping behind me, it might only be me, but the neighborhood gets loud in the evening, and somebody has the motorcycle drove by, and the car is still having their alarm go off. And we just go, okay, let that be so over there, right? So when you send out positive energy, even though a simple act of even though with a simple act of compassion and forgiveness, the energy doesn't vanish. The energy moves, right? Remember last week, energy moves in waves, or particles moves in waves. It doesn't become form until someone or something acknowledges it or observes it, right? Then it takes form again, right? It moves through the field and adds to the vibration of connection and healing that humanity needs, or that the world needs. Okay. So, this understanding of entanglement also helps us. Oh, you can't even hear it? Good. Um, this understanding of entanglement also helps us in our personal growth. It reminds us that when we heal ourselves, we help heal larger, or heal the larger of the whole, right? Because someone is observing us in our healed state and going, how did you get there? And you get to educate them. You get to sit down and have a chat. They get to take what resonates and leave what doesn't. When you bring peace into your own mind, that peace becomes a part of collective energy that others can feel. They want that peace too. You might be the one that shares that peace. Right? You might have had an experience like this before, being around someone who has a common spirit, and all you want to do is just sit there and be calm too. I have a neighbor who I I took a plate of food to, and when she invited me in, her home was so calm. Candles and red light and uh, inspirational music, because hey, she had just gotten off of work. That's how she decompresses. But when I walked in, I I felt glad that I was bringing her foods, but also this must be the moment that I got to experience this because I said, I love this. This is what I would love more of. My higher self and my body and my mind became one going, okay, how can we make this happen? And the reason I say that is because I share an apartment, and not every part of it can be exactly like that. But how do I make the parts that are I'm in vibrate that energy? Or can I make a dinner plate that I can bring to her again? That kind of thing, right? So being around someone who's calming in their presence. They don't even have to say anything, yet you feel better after being near them. Have you ever just stood in the presence of someone at a grocery store, or in a bookstore, even in the library, or just in the parking lot, or in line waiting to get in to buy some Christmas stuff, and they just have this present vibrational aura, right? You don't know what it is, but you feel good. And they haven't even said a word to you, right? That energy connection is motion. It's entanglement happening at a human level, because humans are always vibrating. You're made of particles, so you're always going to be moving, right? There's a powerful idea emerging in the study of trauma and neurobiology. Healing isn't just an internal experience, it radiates outward. When you regulate your own nervous system, blew me away. When you regulate your own nervous system, you create what researchers call coherence. It's a harmonious state that others actually sense. Coherence is contagious. A calm heart can influence other people, or other people's heart to be in the same rhythm. A grounded presence can soften someone else's nervous system. So, just possibly, maybe, your inner healing becomes a gift to someone else. You're clearing the field, you're shifting the collective patterns, you're becoming the source of steadiness in the world that often feels chaotic. So, here's the thing: you can heal the world, or you can talk more about its chaos, which is not going to bring healing. It's going to bring more energetic chaos, because that's what you're observing. So, how about if we bring it closer to daily life? When you woke up, or when you wake up each morning, you're not just starting your own day, you're sending energy out there into a shared field of humanity. Okay. I'm going to give you a sample of something that I learned, oh, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago. You can wake up, and as soon as you wake up, you get up, you stub your toe, and you go, shit. And you resonate in that. Then you walk to the bathroom. You're still resonating in that. And you go to brush your teeth. and there's no toothpaste. Now you're resonating and being mad about the toothpaste. No toothpaste, no mouthwash. You get ready to go to work, you get all your stuff together, you walk into the kitchen, and you go to make you a cup of coffee to take with you to work, and the coffee can, the coffee grounds are empty because you can't make any coffee. Or either you're out of your favorite creamer, or either there's no sugar. Now it's escalated vibrationally, right? You get in your car and you get on the freeway. Um, you hit a patch of freeway. It's looking good, moving fast, and somebody cuts you off. And then you yell at them and give them the finger, and here's this energy. Yeah. Okay. I'm getting there. They cut you off. By the time you get to, excuse me, by the time you get to work, pull into your spot, and you're pissed because somebody's halfway in your spot and halfway in their spot. You get to work and somebody says, "Hi, good morning," and you give them what for and why don't they ever dare speak to you again? And that's the vibration that you came in with, and that starts their day, because now you've done, they were at a level of, "Hi, how you doing?" or "Good morning," and you took it level, and now they've maybe taken a nosedive vibrationally. That's what it's talking about. You choose to raise your vibration through gratitude, mindfulness, or simple awareness. You can choose that. You can add light to share in the space or not. When enough people do that, the collective vibration of the world begins to shift. Okay. Throughout the day, you constantly are exchanging subtle signals to the world around you through your tone. We're just talking about your daily zhuzh, how you're moving, through your tone and through your posture and to your breath and through your presence and even through your thought. That goes the other way too. Not just positive, but negative. There's a place called Heart Math Institute, and it calls this heart field. Oh, are you like going, ooh? Because we're talking about the heart chakra, right? And research shows that the electromagnetic field of the heart extends several feet beyond the body. People can sense your emotional state without a word being spoken. Whoa, right? I'm just saying, whoa. Let's hold on a second. There we go. Okay. Just in case I have to turn on the light. The sun is now going down, is now setting. So there's not going to be any more sunlight. So we're going to have to turn on a little light, but not right now. I kind of like the ambiance here. Okay. So when you cultivate coherence, whether it's through gratitude or through negatively, coherence can be negative as well. Okay. But let's do it from positive. Okay. When you cultivate coherence through gratitude, through your breath, and through your intention, the field around you changes. Some may feel safer and calmer and may be more open. That's why a lot of people like to do yoga. Not all, but that's why a lot of people like to do yoga and they like doing it in small classes, or who knows, even in a big class, or they like sitting at the park doing yoga, and being part of nature. Being part of nature is also being part of wholeness, right? Okay, and scientists are catching up with all of this, that your inner work isn't private. It vibrates everywhere, all at once. It moves out into that quantum field, and it expands, right? Okay, so before I close today, I want you to remember this, that the universe isn't made up of separate pieces. It's one big network of energy and consciousness. You are a part of that network, connected not just to other people, but to the earth, right? You're connected to the stars, you're connected to the entire field of existence. When you understand this connection, it becomes easier to live with compassion, with balance, with purpose. As you move through your day, you can remind yourself that you are never alone. You're never alone, not emotionally, not spiritually, not energetically. We hold within this quantum fabric all that is unfolding since before time. You get the opportunity to act with love, and you get to reinforce that with the fabric of the universe, of the cosmos. You get to breathe consciously. You get to tune into the rhythm of the cosmos. When you choose compassion, you get to amplify that frequency. When you choose a negative vibration, you're amplifying that frequency as well. You're not only living in the universe, you are participating in its evolution. Right? You're a vital, vital note in this cosmic symphony. If you'd like to explore topics further, I recommend The Tao of Physics and The Web of Life by Free Capra. And I might have pronounced it wrong, but I'll spell it for you. His first name is Fritjof. His last name is capital Capra. And both of these books explain in simple terms how science and spirituality point to the same deep truth and connection. Let me share a little background of this gentleman. He was born in Austria in 1939. He trained as a theoretical physicist, earning his PhD from the University of Vienna. He conducted research in particle physics, and systems theory, and moved into interdisciplinary, how do you say this word? Interdisciplinary work connecting science, culture, and ecology. He's not just a science, or he doesn't dwell in only science. He's not just a scientist. He's a systems thinker, educator, and advocate for more holistic world view. His major contributions was the Tao of Physics in 1975, Systems Thinking and the Web of Life, right? Systems View of Life in 2014. He co-authored that book, right? The Center of Eco Literacy. He founded that in California. He believes everything is connected. So that's what he set out to prove. Science and spirituality aren't separate. He believes they illuminate each other. They are energy being observed by the scientist or the spiritualist. And once energy is observed, it no longer moves in a wave, it becomes solid. It becomes the situation, the circumstance. It becomes what has been learned. It becomes the knowledge. Consciousness interacts with the physical world. Consciousness interacts with the physical world. You are awareness being aware. The moment you observe a particle, any type of energy, it says, your wish is my command. And whatever you're thinking, feeling, or emitting an energy, that particle is going to become that. Next week, we will talk about energy and connection and applying it to healing and transforming. We'll explore more of our thoughts, more of our emotions, intentions. We'll work together to bring positive, to help us engage in more positive change in our body and our life and others that are around us as we're growing and healing and evolving. So I'd like to thank you for joining me for this episode 4. I'll see you next Tuesday at either 1 p.m. Pacific time or 4 p.m. It just depends. If Sacred Light Kingdom is back from their trip, you might see me at 1. If not, you will see me here again on YouTube at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Let's take a moment. I hope that you've enjoyed this. I hope that it is my hope that the more I learn, the more I share. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being a part of this Soul Awakening podcast series, Quantum Age of Awakening and the Consciousness in Science, Entanglement and Interconnected Universe. Thank you.